Good morning and welcome to today's IGTV. Today I'm talking about my teenager is failing school and I am doing all the things, the teachers, the counselors, the therapists, the advocacy, all of it. Nothing's working. I'm throwing up my hands. I don't know what else to do. That's what I want to talk about today. I got this comment from a parent on one of my videos, and I think this is really important to address because I know many of you are doing all the things. I know all of you love your teen and you love them hard. I know that. I also know that you're doing so many of the things, and so it's not adding up. Like, you're advocating, the teachers are supportive, the administrative is supportive, the counseling, you've got them the therapy. So where is this going off the rails and why? That's what I want to talk about today. My name is Allie Payne. I am a certified life coach, certified relationship systems coach, one of only 70 people in Canada to hold both designations. I have been working with parents of teens for the last 16 years to help them end this painful disconnection, baffling blow-ups, stressful silences, to build genuine connection with their teen based on trust and mutual respect. And I think school is one of the hardest things right now for parents and teens to find a middle ground, especially when as a parent, you feel like you're going to bat to be a support and do all of the things and nothing is working. It is really hard at that point to not think my teenager's just lazy. They're lazy, they're irresponsible, they want to fail, they're defiant, they must have ODD, oppositional defiance disorder, they must just want to do the opposite of everything I say. Now what am I going to do? They're going to be unemployable and live under a bridge, so I'm going to have to support them the rest of their life, and I can't do that. Do you see where I'm going with this? You are either, and this is very difficult, by the way, this is very difficult, not to make up stories about your teenager in that place when they are seemingly not accessing the help that you're getting them, and they're not performing, and they're not seeming to improve. It's either blame them because now you have taken yourself off the hook. And I mean that metaphorically and realistically. You've taken yourself off the hook because you're doing all the things. So this definitely is your teenager shortfalling. It's definitely their fault. Okay, so let's talk about this. My felt experience with this is that I was a teen who went from straight A's, award-winning athlete, to failing out, like D's, F's, and failed classes, and needed to redo courses, and I stopped showing up to school, I isolated myself. Now, I did not have support, okay? I don't know what it would have looked like if I had support. I did not have support. I did not have a counselor. I did not have a therapist. I did not have parents who were choosing to ally with me. I did not have school administration or teachers who seemed to note anything except when I skipped school. So I didn't have the same support that I'm talking about. So here's the comment that I got from a gorgeous, caring, courageous parent. And I want to read this so we can go through some context with this, okay? So she wrote me and said, I've asked my son, this is relative to school and like not doing well in school. I asked my son 1,000,000 times, what do you need? What can I help you with? I have him in counseling every week for almost a year now. We've had meetings with teachers and counselors where we've all let him know we're here to help and support. Teachers give extensions for assignments and he still won't do them. I understand that my parenting may be contributing to this. So huge, that's a courageous piece of awareness. But I've been trying all of the things that you're saying and there's still no change. First of all, kudos to this parent because that is a lot. That takes a lot of time, takes a lot of emotional energy. It takes a lot of investment in revealing what's possible outside of the norm. You just go to school and you do your things and you get it done. So it takes a lot of on her part. So huge props to this mama. Here's what I'm wondering. And I'm making this up, okay? Because this is the comment I have. So we're gonna extrapolate. Because I think there's a lot of parents here, like yourself, who are going the extra mile for their teenager, who are trying to be their ally, who are advocating for them. And that's all good. I think the key distinction here is one thing I'm going to get into in a few minutes. So just stick with me, okay? When you perceive this as a math equation, I'm giving you all the help. Why are you not improving? I'm doing this thing. So I'm at addition. I'm doing this to lift you up. Why are you not doing this? And therefore you must be choosing not to come up. Okay? This comes from the way that you and I were raised, which is a performative-based parenting that said the number one, like when push comes to shove, the number one success factor is school. It is the place you go for like 12 years that you're supposed to succeed. You're supposed to get good grades, like or decent grades, and learn stuff, right? And we have this very strong perception that if you don't perform at school, the wheels on everything are going to fall off. The wheels on your teenager's life are going to fall off. The wheels on your parenting is falling off. And that is highly anxiety provoking as a parent, okay? Because the definition of anxiety is the fear of losing control. Well, you're already losing control because your teenager is not performing within this math equation based on your one outcome of success, your one definition of success, which I was raised in that environment too. That was probably partly why I went from straight A's to F's and failing out, was because I was taught that the only way I was pleasing and lovable and defined as successful in my sphere was to perform. Now, thankfully, I had a lot going for me, so I could do it to a point until that level of perfectionism literally crushed me from the inside out. And I went from A's to F's and failing out and skipping school and a suicide attempt. So that's not, like, it's not all the all that I was raised in. It's not the all that we were taught is everything. So that's the first problem, which is very counterintuitive. Because do you think this mom is giving it her all? You want to bet that she is giving it everything she has based on what she knows to be an ally for her teen. Counseling, administrative, teachers, she's doing all the things, right? So if I'm doing everything in my realm of reality and your teen isn't stepping up, then we have a problem. Now, that's based on performance-based. It's based on transactional thinking. Transactional thinking is, well, I'm giving you this, so you should do this. I'm doing this, so you should do this. That's transactional thinking. That is in fact the definition of a relationship that is full of expectations rather than connection. Because true connection happens at an emotional level that is relational. Transactional thinking is not connection. It is compliance. It is control. I'm not saying she's asking for compliance, but it's mathematical. It's transactional. I have an expectation that you perform at school. This is what you do. This is just what we do based on story, okay? And so I'm doing my thing, so you should do your part. That's transactional thinking. Now, if you're coming at me and be like, yeah, well, if we don't succeed at school, what opportunities do we have? Lots, actually. Lots. In today's day and age, I am not saying that school is not important. I'm not saying that learning is not important. I'm saying there's a lot of different ways to learn a trade, a skill, a profession that may not look the way it used to need to look or used to look. And even then, in yesteryear, back in the dinosaurs, when I was born, before Google, okay, there were still ways to succeed and learn a trade and skill and be successful. I mean, there's a lot of famous people in the world who didn't finish, who dropped out of school, okay? Because the other thing is that school is set up for a very specific type of learner. And this is not anti-teacher. I am very pro-teacher. In fact, I'd never want to be a teacher because I think the expectation of teachers right now to deal with so much beyond learning, psychology and emotional health, with 30 kids in their class, it's near impossible. It's not set up for the students to succeed. It's not set up for the teachers to succeed. So we're asking teenagers to perform daily within an institution, a very set way of learning that it didn't work for me as a teenager. It worked for me as a child until my brain changed and went through the adolescent brain development. Then it didn't work for me. I have ADHD, so that didn't work. I can't listen for long periods of time. I can't read. I don't take information in by reading. I take it in by listening, but it can only be in short periods. I need visuals. I cannot take in information unless I have simple diagrams or drawings or visuals or a video. That's how I learn. So the school system isn't always set out for everyone, okay? So there's a couple things that are in the way of this. Now, here's the other thing that I wanted to say. I get that these teachers are going to bat for this child. These teachers are giving extensions on assignments. That's a lot. And good for those teachers because they have a lot on their plate. An extension on an assignment does not deal with the root issue. It creates an accommodation for a root issue. But you're not developing, it's imagine you're driving on a road, okay, and there's a huge pothole, okay? Like dangerous for your vehicle, pothole. There's a huge pothole, okay? An accommodation is like putting cones around the pothole. So you're letting everyone know, hey, there's a pothole here. Don't get stuck in the pothole. Drive around, be cautious, okay? But you're not fixing the pothole. So that road is always congested because of the accommodation of you need to go, one lane always needs to go around the pothole, which is well marked, but you're not dealing with the pothole. That is an accommodation that isn't working. Accommodations are great, but and necessary in many, many cases, but they are working with the problem. They don't solve the problem. Am I clear on that? I hope that makes sense for you. Okay, also, she said she's had him in counseling every week for almost a year now. And what I would say is, okay, good for you, because I'm sure that might be out of pocket. That might take extra time. That's a big friggin' deal. Doesn't sound like it's working. Every counselor, therapist, or coach is not the right match for your child. And I've done articles and videos on, I think it's called 7 Tips for Helping Your Teen Find the Right Therapist. There's actually a skill, a science to helping them find the right, it's 7 steps to finding the right therapist. I'm not going to go over that here. I will perhaps put the link in the comments here. In order to find the right therapist, the right counselor for your teenager, first of all, they have to choose them. So, you pick a short list that works within your geographic area, your financial budget, your insurance program, whatever. You create a short list, but then you allow your teen to interview them and see who they connect with. Okay? So that's number one. And even then, it might not be the right therapist, because here's the definition of a therapist or a counselor. That's not someone that you go to who is nice. We're not looking for nice. We're looking for emotionally safe people, such that that professional, whatever they call themselves, is allowed to, because your teenager allows it, that is their line and their permission. Some days they may feel comfortable with it and some days they may not. Allows that professional to challenge them on their thinking or their feelings, to ask hard questions. And their teenager, even though it feels uncomfortable, feels safe to explore that question, even if they don't know the answer. That is a working professional relationship. Not someone your teenager just goes to or logs on Zoom with every week and shows up and like, it's nice and yeah, they're fun and yeah, like, ooh. That's not, no, don't be paying your money for that. So if it's a year and you're not seeing results, I say stop. Let your teenager interview more people. Now, is this hard on your teenager? You bet it is, because teenagers trust, it's a lot. Teenagers don't feel safe with a lot of people based on their brain development, okay? They feel emotionally unsafe with most people, in fact, with life itself, as part of their brain development. So telling your teen you need them to try and connect with someone else can be a bit of a mountain to climb. I understand that too, okay? But here's the other thing that goes on for teenagers in counseling or therapy, is that it goes back to performance-based. My parents want me to do this, so I'm going to, yeah, that's a great point. There's a big difference between therapy and just supportive counseling. Wonderful. And sometimes you need both. Sometimes I need both. Sometimes teenagers need both. We can't always do the heavy lifting, hard work. Like our brain, it's too much for our brain sometimes. But if there isn't significant therapy, which is addressing underlying beliefs, thoughts, feelings, stories in order to process, heal, and release them, then that's it. So teenagers will go to counseling or therapy to perform. It is another way that teenagers are performing and believe they need to perform for their parents because their parents are paying for it. And the teenagers don't take that lightly either. They know it costs money, but they will also go and do this like just supportive counselor friendly kind of telling the counselor maybe the top 60% of the truth. Not that they're lying, but they're not revealing because they don't feel safe and they don't want to, maybe, with that person, reveal the 40% or 30 or even the 20% that's actually driving the current behavior, okay? So we might have a whole counseling and therapy issue here that is not working, which is maintaining the status quo because your son knows you're unhappy. And I'm not saying this against this mom at all, but teenagers feel like they are disappointing in their parents, so they're being sent to therapy or counseling to get fixed. Are you catching what I'm going with that? It's your job to go there to get fixed. It's another job. It's another way I need you to perform and please me because apparently this basic assignment, which is called go to school and pass and hand in assignments, just pass. We can't maintain that, so now you have a second job, which is go to counseling or therapy. So now the teenager is doing that to please you, but not for themselves. Ultimately, not for themselves. They're doing it for you. So there's a duality. There could be another layer there that needs to be unpacked. Now, let me go to this. I've already talked about teachers giving extension for assignments. That's not dealing with the root issue. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. But it's not dealing with the root issue. How is that teacher helping to be a safe person for that teenager who, even with counseling, extensions on assignments, and her saying like, what do you need? What can I help you with? this 13-year-old is still, sorry, I'm just reading the comment, is still not handing in assignments, won't do it. Teachers, although again, I will say, have a ton on their plate, can play a role beyond accommodations for students. If they really connect with that student, teachers cannot possibly connect with all 30 kids in their class, okay? And they're not going to by personality styles anyway, okay? But being a safe person to say, you know what? Seems like things feel really hard for you right now. If you want to share that with me, I promise to just listen. You notice how the teacher didn't say, if you want extra help with that assignment, or if you need extra, because it's not about the assignment. The assignment is a symptom of a much larger source that's going on under the surface, because all behavior is communication. All behavior is communication. Behavior is what you see. And if you focus on it and you believe that is the source, this is all going to go off the rails. And I'm not saying this mama is doing that. I'm just saying that, okay? It's the emotions and underlying beliefs and thinking that is creating that result, that behavior, okay? So here's the last point, the third point I wanted to make. And again, bless this mama. Like I got no bones with this mom whatsoever. She's saying to her 13-year-old, she says 1,000,000 times, what do you need? What do you need help with? What do you need? Just tell me what you need. Totally common for courageous, caring parents who are willing to go the extra mile for their child. And high five to her. Here's the problem with that you and I as parents were not told. It's highly unlikely that a 13-year-old brain can even begin to put a toe in the pool of articulating that answer. They don't know. They don't know what they need. And sometimes they can't even articulate, in fact, a lot of times, they can't articulate what's wrong, which is why you get so much, I don't know. Your teenager's brain recently exploded on the inside. It's called puberty. It's biologically and physiologically normal. And as part of that, there's a lot of things that happen. I don't want to get into the details. In a lot of my other videos here on Instagram or on TikTok or on YouTube, which by the way, I'd love a follow or a subscribe. Believe that would be down there, subscribe. The teen brain becomes massively inefficient, not unintelligent, massively inefficient as a part of their physiological brain development that happens in the adolescent years, okay? And it's major, by the way. There is only 2 major brain growth phases in the human lifetime. One is as a toddler and one is as a teen, okay? So this gorgeous young man knows he's struggling. And sometimes the more parents do to help, the more it feels like it's reinforcing, you're not being the way I want you to be. You're not being the way we need you to be. You're not being the way we want you to be. We're not being the way, so now we're going to fix you because we need you to be the way we need you to be. And so as much as this gorgeous mom is saying, like, what do you need? What do you need? What do you need? Which is lovely, lovely. What her teenager is hearing is, what's it going to take? What's it going to take? What's it going to take? And I'll tell you, as having been that teen, okay, is the disconnection here is that feels like criticism. Because I'm making this up, I've never spoken to him, he might feel criticized by her support. And I know that can be like, or what are you talking about, Allie? Unfollow, whatever you want to do. Because teenagers do not feel emotionally safe, as part of their brain development, they're highly insecure, wildly susceptible to criticism and judgment because of their natural level of insecurity. The more you attempt to support, which I want to be really careful, which I said is point number 1 in the beginning of this video, may actually be an underhanded way of fixing them, the more your teenager feels criticized and judged because they are not living up to who the system needs them to be, who you would want them to be, who, their potential, that whole bullshit, which is like some snow globe version of their life. You have no idea if it's actually true, ever. I mean, I don't know about you, but your life probably wasn't like as linear as what your parents wanted. My gosh, my life was not linear. It went in directions I had no idea, and I friggin' love it. If my life had been linear, how boring is that? I'm here right now talking to you because of the struggles I had as a teen, going from A's and athlete awards to failing out, F's, and a suicide attempt. That's why I'm here. Did I want that? No. And thankfully it didn't work, like the ending my life thing, but it's why I'm here. I'm grateful for that. Struggle is a normal part of life. I'm not saying don't support your child. I'm saying I want you to check in with what is the root of why you are supporting. Does it have to do with fulfilling expectation? What's your story around failure? What if this young man just needs someone to say to him, you're safe with me. It's safe. Anything you're feeling, safe. It's not right, it's not wrong, it's not positive, it's not negative. It's welcome here. That is what I desperately wanted, more than anything else. I didn't want to be reminded of what I was supposed to do because I already knew that. I didn't want to be constantly and again, bless this mama for asking, what do you need? What can they help with? He can't answer that. The teen brain cannot effectively articulate what they need. He's not trying to be insulin or shut her out. Maybe. If he doesn't feel emotionally safe, he would never tell her anyway. Even if she's the best mom in the whole world. And this is what cuts deep as a parent. Cuts deep. Is that when you are doing everything this mom is doing, because this is what we're told is what a great parent is, only to not have been told the underlying source is emotional, and that what her son needs is probably a different therapist, for one, and not to be asked what he needs. What he needs every day, once, twice a day, is to be told, I love you. I love you. I love you in your struggle, and nothing will ever change that. What he needs to be told every day is that whatever he's feeling, no matter how overwhelming or frightening it is, I'm here for it. I'm here for it, whatever it is. If I had been told those things, it would have been life-changing for me. Absolutely life-changing. I may not have gotten to the point where I felt I needed to take my own life. And I'm not saying that's where this 13-year-old is going. Okay, I'm just talking from my own experience. So here's my last point in this. Check your story about why you're supporting your child. What's the end outcome you're looking for? Is it mental health? To build connection and confidence for your teenager? Or is it because you want them to get back on the bus and start complying and performing? Notice if your need to fix your teen, support them, if it's not working like this gorgeous mom is saying, then stop. Because what you're trying, which is all the things you know, it's time to know different. It's time to see different. It's time to think different. Not because you are not a good parent, not because you're not already trying all the things, because there's now a lot more things we do know than we didn't before. For you to be your teen's best ally, and that your teenager isn't answering you, because the number one thing your teenager is likely looking for is an emotionally safe place or person for him to begin to acknowledge everything going on without expectation of him then performing when it's fixed. He needs a safe place, okay? I was going to say a last thing and then I don't remember what that was. Oh yeah, this is the last thing. If you're like me, you were not raised understanding what emotional safety is. You were not raised with this like emotional vocabulary in order to support your son to begin to even articulate his emotions. That's what I was going to say. There's 3 things that might be going on under the surface here that have not been addressed. Number 1, this young boy may be struggling with depression. Okay? Depression literally is like a lead blanket on the brain. Depression says, I know I'm supposed to care, but I can't. It is a hormonal, physiological thing. Okay? It can be temporary. It can be a permanent condition. I don't know. But I wonder if he's struggling with depression. Okay? I also wonder if he's struggling with anxiety. Anxiety can come purely from overwhelm. I can speak to that. Anxiety for me came from all of a sudden, all the learning and everything I knew had the ways I knew how to perform and do school just stopped. They weren't working anymore. They weren't working anymore because they worked at a certain level of learning. But my strategies, which were, P.S. it was one thing. I have a photographic memory. So yay me. Photographic memory. That works when you got to just regurgitate stuff. Straight A's when you just got to regurgitate. It does not work when you're supposed to apply the knowledge. I had 0 study skills. 0. Okay. I also had 0 emotional coping skills, no emotional regulation, and no emotional support whatsoever in my life. So for this teen, he might be struggling with anxiety based on overwhelm. Okay. And anxiety is fear-based, and fear shuts down the brain to strategic thinking, creative think process in order to create different strategies. It shuts down the capacity for learning. It makes learning really hard. So stress and fear is often portrayed as avoidance. Anxiety, which is based in fear, okay, creates a level of stress which outwardly appears as avoidance. So that's what I did. I just stopped showing up to school in grade 11. That was my way I was going to handle that. That was a great strategy. Just don't show up. So he might be struggling with that. And the last thing I think he might be struggling with is perhaps a learning challenge. Maybe he has some processing issues, the way he takes in information, which I mentioned. Maybe he has ADHD, which I have. And that may also be getting in the way. So I'm sharing this to say, even if you believe you're doing all the things, and you are, and I see that, I want to let you know that there are things that because of the way you and I were raised and the way our parents were raised, because they're not bad either, we don't have the full story. We have like half the story, 60, 70% of the story. We now know through science we're getting to a much larger picture. And so if you are at the end of the rope and you're trying all the things that are not working, it's time to learn new things. And the first and foremost of that is becoming an emotionally safe person for your teen. And this is not a judgment on your character or who you are as a parent. So please, can we remove that, okay? We were not taught these things. So how would you know? But you can start knowing now, okay? One of the key critical factors for a teen in building connection and safety such that they do build back confidence and motivation to go and do what they do in their life is feeling emotionally safe. And one of the best ways that you can do that for free is I'll write it in the comments below here on YouTube. On Instagram, if you tap on my name and then there's a link in my profile, I have a free masterclass. I put it all together for you, my proven 3-step framework. And one of those 3 steps is emotional safety. So if you want to know more about it, you can watch that for free. And I want to thank you so much for watching this. And I want to thank all of you gorgeous parents that I have tremendous respect for. Who are like this mama and going every extra mile she possibly knows how to support her son. I have a lot of courage and respect for that. My oldest son has ADHD, autism spectrum disorder, all undiagnosed until he was later. Raising him was one of the hardest things I ever did. Getting out of work early, weekly, to drive 45 minutes to this amazing therapist that we found for him, constantly working with accommodations with the school. I spent 7 years studying the brain because I knew the help we were getting was not what we needed to better understand his brain and what was going on for him. I do understand from a personal level as a parent what it is like to literally give your everything. And I also know that what everyone was providing us wasn't what he needed. And I didn't know either. So a lot of what I share with you isn't actually what I learned in my coach training and certification and my certified relationship systems training. It's what I learned from parenting a child with ASD, ADHD. And all the things we didn't even know 10 years ago that I had to go learn myself because I just knew that what I was doing wasn't working, which is similar to her. So I want to hats off to you. Kudos to you. It is okay to sit and cry in your bathroom. It is okay to feel enraged, angry that you can't control this. Yes, it's all good. And it's okay for you to also get therapy or speak to a coach like myself. In fact, why don't you just go to that free masterclass and start there. And I tell some of my story in that as well. Okay? Thanks so much, everybody, for being here. I'm grateful for all of you. You're all already amazing parents. I believe in you. Bye.